Hi there, welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham. And isn't it lovely this season how it's gone from capitulations on the pitch, joined by capitulations off it? Normally, a change to your regular programming today. Normally, it's the review of the game, but as I'm sure you're aware, the game is not the big news story. It's Conte going mad at a press conference and calling out absolutely anybody and everybody. To discuss this, two people have already discussed it on other streams, but they're going to repeat themselves again. Hopefully, joined by Mac and Marlon a little bit later on. But Brad, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, it's been a pretty quiet weekend, really. News so I guess we can probably hang the show out for an hour or so and talk about something. So.
And Ian, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing good. A bit like Brad, pretty uneventful on the football side. Makes you really pine for international football, don't you?
Yeah. Thank God this has come at a 2-week break, but a couple of people in the couple of people in the chat already. Eugene, how you doing, Eugene?
Hey, Eugene.
Levy out as always.
Eugene should be in bed.
Yeah. Wayne Bonner, good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well.
Hi,
Wayne. Did we play at the weekend? He says. You wouldn't have thought so, but apparently we did. And Chris Agambar, how you doing, buddy?
Hi, Chris.
Thanks everybody for watching and for getting your comments in. Please hit the like, please hit the subscribe and the notification bell. And like I say, get your comments, questions, everything in the chat. A lot to talk about, even though it's only really about one man. And Tom as well. How you doing, buddy? Hopefully, like I say, I'll be joined by Mac and Marlon a little bit later on. But and Brad does have a YouTube channel himself as well, Blue Sofa Songs. It's in the description. But at the end, he'll let you know what you can expect on that and where to find it. So, only one real way to start. I've obviously embellished this. Conte goes mad. This was him at the start of the interview. Fairly calm, and this was him 2 minutes in. I've got one little quote here. So it's easy in this way. Tottenham's story is this: 20 years there is the owner, and they have never won something. But why? The fault is only for the club or for every manager that stays here. I've seen the managers that Tottenham had on the bench. You risk to disrupt the figure of the manager and protect the other situation in every moment. Until now, I try to hide the situation, but now, no, because I repeat, I don't want to see what I've seen today because this is unacceptable and also unacceptable for the fans. I'll start with you, Brad. I agree with everything that he said. What I don't agree with is the fact that he's blamed everyone and not himself. So it's a collective effort. For me, the fault lies with the players, the manager, and the chairman, and the board as well. He talks about... It's obviously a lot more than that little picture there. But he talks about having a winning mentality and having to win, but yet he fielded a weakened team versus Sheffield United. We needed to win against AC Milan, and we sat back for the entire game. Now, whether that's the players or him or not, I don't know. How did you feel seeing it? I was at the cinema when it was on, when it happened. Come back, my phone has gone boom. So I missed it all. Well, but what were your initial reactions to it? Do you think he was right in not right in what he said in him saying it in that public forum?
First of all, when the final whistle went on Saturday, and we had given up in 15 minutes a 2-goal lead to the team bottom of the league. They hadn't scored more than 2 goals at home all season, and we were sitting, at the time when we were leading, sitting there in 3rd place, and we couldn't hold on to that. No matter what tactical changes, I've seen people go on about, he shouldn't have gone defensive, blah, blah, blah. At that moment, I reckon every one of us, every Spurs fan, was thinking, and maybe even saying, if you're watching down the pub with your mates or whatever, the same things that he said in that press conference. About the mentality, about the bunch of whatever, about the board. Okay, he says it wasn't about the board, but I think it secretly was. I reckon every single one of us would have been saying or thinking those exact same things in that moment. And for me, that to me brought out the football side of Conte, the football supporter side of Conte. Now, should he have said it? The story is that I've heard, I'm only going by our friend Alistair Gold. He seems to think, from his sources, that he didn't say that to them in the dressing room. He basically did what he normally does when they have a bad defeat. He doesn't go in the dressing room. He just lets them stew. So, from all accounts, he didn't say that to him in the dressing room because I think it makes it different. If he said that to him in the dressing room and then said it in the press, then it puts
they can't complain it's behind their back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess if you're on if you're using your brain, you can say, well, yeah, you shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't throw your players under the bus in public. I mean, Alex Ferguson never used to do that, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, if you're looking at it on with a level head, but come on, we're Spurs supporters. We ain't got level heads. You know, we've been for years. We're sick of it. We're totally sick of it.
Yeah.
So I don't care if there are some hurt footballers in there. I don't care. I really don't care. If there's some footballers that aren't going to play for us the rest of the season, well, let them bog off at the end of the season for all I care. I really do. I've got to that stage now where no, I don't care anymore.
I'm about 2 weeks ahead of you on that. I got to that a couple of weeks ago.
Well, no,
I have no more fucks to give. I have no more fucking.
For me, you know what the saddest moment of that whole weekend was? The saddest moment to that whole weekend was that we shouldn't have even been playing that game in the first place. We should have been getting ready on that Saturday to go to see Blackburn Rovers at home in the FA Cup quarter-final. That was the saddest thing. And I guess if you look to the team that we fielded against Sheffield United, yes, we should have fielded a stronger team in hindsight. But when you saw that team, you thought, oh, hang on a minute, Sheffield United got 8 players missing. You know, yeah, we should win that with the team we had out there.
Build a bridge, get over it. Write a song about it, Brad. Come on.
Just a quick comment from Chris.
I'm so uptight about it. It's going to be an instrumental bloody song this week. I can't think of lyrics anymore.
Like I said,
you're going to be one string missing.
I watched that semi-final between, or at least I saw most of it because I was on the golf course earlier on Sunday morning. But I watched that semi-final between Sheffield United and Blackburn, and I'm watching it with a view: could we beat these two? Could we match them for energy, passion, commitment? Yeah, of course we could for skill, but could we match them, their commitment to trying to win that football match? And I'm not sure we could.
Do you know what? If Tottenham had matched the way Levy runs after a £5 million bargain, we'd piss the league and every cup competition.
Yeah.
I said I missed the whole press conference because I was at a film. Chris Agenbar says, was it a good film? It was the new Scream film. So I've swapped one horror movie for another, Chris.
Yeah, well, look at that bedroom, mate. There's another fucking horror movie. That'd make me scream at all.
It's not a horror movie, Mac, is it? It's not a horror movie, is it? It's a comedy. It's a comedy. Get it right.
But it's getting close.
If you haven't already done so, you have to watch the whole 10-minute interview to get the full effect. You really do.
What did you think of it, Ian?
I was thinking about the movie, and I think what was it? Emmanuel and 50 Ways on the Blue Sofa.
Only a certain age will remember that.
I'm going to say you're going back a bit there, Ian.
I'm not going to lie. It looks like the opening scenes to a Bad Red Shoe Diaries. I'm not going to lie.
But what did you think of the press conference and his kind of calling everyone out, Ian?
I would have a lot more respect for Conte if one, he didn't do it. Two, I think he timed this absolutely deliberately, knowing there was a 2-week international break, knowing I said that he was on his way home to Turin because I think he went to Turin on Sunday morning to be with his family. So he just lets the releases the
hounds.
Release the hounds.
Wait to see what happens. I would have had a lot more time. I don't disagree with much of what he said. But
I'm the same. Yeah.
Let's have a couple of thoughts here. One, is this really his way of saying to Levy, look, I just want to go and use this as an excuse to fire me? Secondly, this is a coach. If he'd have been saying, me and Daniel have been speaking over the last X, I'm going to sign a 3-year contract, but I'm telling the players now they have 10 games because they're not good enough. Their attitude isn't right. And those of them that can't do it in the next 10 games will be out of this football club. I'd have had a lot more respect for him.
Could that be one interpretation of it, though?
Is that what you think, Mac? Or what do you think about it, Mac?
Well, I'll be honest. I've got no problem with what he said. Right? No. I think more of him for it. Because let's be honest, he's just said in a very harsh way what other managers have alluded to. The only thing missing was you're a bunch of cunts. Let's be honest. We've gone past 10 minutes.
minutes
I can say the word now. We've gone past by 6 seconds. Cunt. Anyway,
like you're looking at the time. It doesn't matter if it's 10 seconds or 10 minutes.
Shit, mate.
You can't help yourself.
Give a shit. But my the only thing that bugs me about Conte, right, and it's bugged me the whole time. All right. Do you know what? Right, Conte, yes, Levy doesn't back enough, or he leaves things till lastminute.com. The players, well, it's been the same core of players for a very long time. So there's been no rejuvenation that's been needed. Again, that comes down to Levy. But also at the same time, if you are a world-class manager, you will find a way. You will find a way to unpick that lock. You will find a way to change it up. You'll find a way to get the best out of that team. Now, I've said before on previous shows that I've done across the board, being the slut that I am, that I think Conte is an intimidating presence to our squad. We haven't got big enough egos to deal with the stature of man that he is. But like I said, the point that I'm trying to make, the thing that winds me up the most out of the whole thing. It's all right, sweetheart. You finish it. Thank you. The thing that winds me up the most is I just want to turn around and say, do you know what? I've got to play my part in this because it's up to me to make sure these boys are up to the level. And you know what? That's the one thing for me that is missing in any of his press conferences. Just once turn around and go,
accountability.
Accountability.
That's the thing that annoyed me about this, that he blamed everyone.
Matt, can I add something to that? I mean, first of all,
you want, mate.
He would have.
Not my show.
He'd be that. It'd be fun. I think he would have more traction if, apart from saying he was committing, if the football wasn't so absolutely awful. Now, the people I meet when I come down for the matches, most of them have been going to Tottenham for 50 years plus, and people of my age and what have you are absolutely sick to death of the abject quality of the football that's being played, that's not even winning football. And I think that
and you know what, Ian, I understand that point.
Yeah.
The only thing I've got to come back at that point with is because we haven't revamped, we haven't rejuvenated, we haven't covered the right spaces, we haven't got the right players in, we haven't got attacking players in, and we haven't got a decent set. Well, we now got a decent right wing back, and Emerson Royal looks like he's starting to come good. Perisic is too old. We haven't got the right players in. We haven't got a squad, in my opinion, where Conte can give them full trust and say, boys,
I'm not arguing that. But one of the things when he talks about the players' mentality, he wasn't talking about ability. He was talking about mentality. I made a list I did it on Saturday night when I was on the View from the South stand with Brad. The players that were involved on Saturday: Forster, Porro, Emerson, Perisic, Langley, Richarlison, Decky, Sarr, Romero, and Bissouma and Bentancur would have been involved as well had they not been injured. Now, these are players that have either been signed under the watch of Conte or by Paratici. So, if the players they brought in aren't good enough, and remember, money was made available in the January transfer window that wasn't, the summer transfer window that ended up not being spent. If he hasn't brought in the quality of player, and Perisic is a bloody good player, even when he played in the World Cup for Croatia, he's three levels above how he plays for Tottenham. Then where does the blame lie for that?
When I go, let me be specific. We haven't got a good enough defense to play the kind of football.
Agreed.
Let me be sorry. I wasn't specific.
Agreed.
My thing is if we had, a Bastini and a Skriniar alongside Romero, then I think that Tottenham would probably play with a bit more of the leash taken off. Because there isn't that trust in Dyer, there isn't that trust in Longley. There's a little bit more trust because I think Spurs play differently with Davies. There's a little bit more trust there, but we don't have the defence where Conte can sit there and go, go on, boys, go on midfield, you go create, go on up front, you go and run them ragged. And this is why I think that we're watching a very pragmatic, a very slow, and cagey side, because Conte has got to do the best with what he can, with what he's got in defence, and that to me is where the biggest problem lies.
Let me put something else back to you then, Matt. Name me one Tottenham player in the year and a half that Conte's been there that he's improved.
You could say Davies, can't you?
Davies. I think he's improved. Davies improved. I think
the issue that I've got,
even Skip. I even think you can say Skip, even though he's only just come back, because Skip made sure he was at he might not have been on the training pitch, but he made sure he was at every meeting, every tactical analysis, everything that he could be involved in. He made sure he was, and he's come back like he's not missed a beat.
No,
right. So for me, even without playing, he's improved Skip. I think one thing that I think hasn't worked and isn't working is I think that he's done something in a negative sense as regards Kane and Son. You know, you look at the game when we played Southampton, and this is where I understand the selfishness. There was at least 2 times that Harry Kane could have played Son in, and he didn't. That shot from outside the box that went over the left side top corner. And there was another time when he came in from the right, and Son on both occasions was with Kane's ability could have easily been picked out. I think he's had a detrimental effect there, but I think he's improved Skip, and I think he's improved Davies.
The issue that I've got is the end of last season, we were scoring goals for absolute fun. Those front three were tearing teams apart. And it was the same defence as we've got now, obviously barring Longley and Perisic. But in terms of ability of that defence, it's fairly similar. We were attacking teams. Remember the Norwich game? All we needed was a draw. We go out and go and destroy them and take it to them. We're not doing that at the moment. We're not attacking teams, and I have no idea.
Conte doesn't trust the offence. Offense was a good defense.
At the end of last season, 11 games at the end of last season, 27 points out of 33. But we were allowed to go and attack teams. So I don't know why it suddenly changed. And now we're getting this turgid football that Ian alluded to earlier. What do you think, Brad?
I think an answer to that could well be that our attacking players been found out by the other teams. And we haven't seen Kane and Son link up like they used to. Kulusevski hasn't done what he did last season. I think other teams now know how to play us, and I think that's what's happened. I agree with what Matt said about the defence. If you're not confident in your defence, you're less willing to throw all caution to the wind. And if you look back to I hate going back to 2017, but that's the best Tottenham team I've seen in my lifetime.
And this is what a lot of and this is the benchmark for a lot of people. And this is something I used to say. And this is what annoys me about everyone going, "Oh, Poch needs to come back," or "We need to this," or "Poch." Do you know what? Don't get me wrong. Poch was fantastic for Spurs. We watched some of the best football we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
But who remembers when we were 3-point lane, mid-table dross, hoping for a cup run? We're still in better times than then.
My point is that. You had Alderweireld and Vertonghen, and you had Walker and Rose. You also had in front of them Wanyama and Dembele. Wanyama could win the ball, and Dembele could keep the ball. So your forwards had a lot of license to go up there. They were confidence.
They had a lot of protection, didn't they?
Yeah, and you've got the proof in the fact that we would have conceded less goals that season. Yeah. So than anyone in the Premier League. So I think that's the problem we have at the moment is there's no confidence.
But also at the same time, we didn't spend big money on those players. Levy got lucky. Got lucky spending not over the odds for players that turned out to be fantastic. Whereas
Bentancur could be a replacement for Dembele. He's nowhere near the level of Dembele, but in terms of a player who can keep the ball, he can keep the ball. So in that respect,
does that make Højbjerg a poor man's Wanyama?
Yeah.
Chris Sarr could develop. Papi Sarr could develop into the kind of player that Dembele was.
This goes to what I was saying.
With those rash challenges in the box.
But this goes
really to what rash. He was a bit unlucky, wasn't he? Hey?
But this goes to what I was saying off air. Conte is a manager. I was saying this to Brad and Ian off air, so it'd be interesting, Matt, what you think. But Conte is a manager, same with Jose, who need managers who are ready, and then they coach them into their system and their tactics, but they're all ready in that position. Whereas our owners' philosophy is get young players and then coach them up, which is what a Poch does, which is what a Thomas Frank does, a Potter does. So what if you're bringing in a manager like Jose and Conte, you've either got to accept that he's going to want you to bring in players that are ready for his system, and then he's going to coach them into that system and way of playing fairly quickly. And you therefore change and go, okay, we're not going to buy these ready-made players who are like 19, 20 or whatever, and then get them coached up in a few years. We're going to buy the ready-made players. So what? But that hasn't happened. We're still doing that thing. And Arsenal are doing the same process, but it's the players that they want. So he says, I need a left-sided wing-back, and I need a striker. I want Zinchenko and Jesus. They go and get Zinchenko and Jesus. Whereas we say I want Mane, I want a wide player who's quick.
And this is
where
Arsenal and Tottenham have a completely different measuring stick.
Yeah,
Arsenal,
and then Levy goes, I'll get someone like Mane. And so it's Levy's fault completely hiring someone like Conte and not changing the way he operates and buys players.
But quick. So Arsenal and Tottenham's measuring stick are completely different. Arsenal want trophies. Spurs want top 4 to keep the money coming, right?
Yep.
Levy don't give a fuck as long as top 4.
No.
He don't care if we win a trophy. Top 4 brings in enough money. Yeah. And as regards to the players, again, this is where, Arsenal and Tottenham, because Arsenal have gone out and bought players that Arteta has said, I want this player because he's going to improve the squad. He's going to make sure that we make that next step. Whereas Conte's gone, I want this player and I want this player. And Levy's gone, like I just said about Højbjerg, I'm going to get a poor man's Dembele. I'm going to get a poor man's Wanyama. I'm going to get a poor man's Harry Kane, right? Where he's not going to spend the money, but he's going to spend just enough to make sure that we stay 4th. Now, if we have 2 or 3 seasons, right, of finishing in Europa League or Conference League, I could see a shift, maybe one summer, of a proper recruitment of money spent. Because Levy will see that actually we're now losing the quality in the squad to achieve the top 4 aim. And that's the only way that I can see Levy spending any real money.
But that's my point as well. That Arsenal, I want players who I can do this, can improve the squad and this. Okay, let's go and get those. Whereas we have a completely different philosophy to the manager. Yeah. Whereas Arsenal have got, the manager wants this, we're going to do what the manager wants, and this is a project. We have suddenly gone from a plan with Pochettino when he started to just a shambles now, and hiring managers that don't fit what the owners want to do. And I just don't understand it. I don't understand it.
This is the thing about having a go at Conte for not taking any blame, which a lot of managers are the same. Well, I don't think our owners and our board ever take the blame. I mean, you saw the trust when they sent all those letters, and what they more or less said, we've had 17 years of European football. And that's it. You don't get a trophy for 17 years of European football, but you do get an increase in your income.
You might get legacy entry when the format changes.
Yeah. If the board didn't want to win trophies, why would you hire a Mourinho or a Conte?
Because it looks to give the impression of ambition.
But I'll tell you, Ian, they didn't want to win a trophy under Jose. They didn't want to win a trophy under Jose because they sacked him 6 days before a final.
You know what? Tottenham have brought in Mourinho and Conte for the same reason my dad got a tattoo, right? After he cheated on my mum, to show commitment to the bigger picture. But my old man still left, and so are these pricks.
Yeah, I mean, the reason we got Mourinho.
Not that I'm still traumatized by it.
I mean, Levy knows, the board knows that to sack Pochettino is not going to be popular with the fans. So how do you appease the fans? You get in a winning manager, which a lot of in social media before Pochettino had been sacked, a lot of people were actually calling for Mourinho, and that's what you do. When they spent all that time getting in Nuno, which was an unbelievable decision, and then we had that game against Manchester United where the crowd actually did turn. The one and only time I've seen them turn on Daniel Levy. What happened? They sacked Nuno. They bring Conte in because Conte's a winner, and it also appeases fans. This is why I think they're gonna turn every stone they can to bring Pochettino in. Now, whether you agree that Pochettino should be our next manager or not, if Conte leaves, especially if he leaves us in a mess, then that's going to appease the fans by getting Pochettino in. That's what they do. That's what they do.
I'll venture to suggest if Pochettino was going to be the next manager of Tottenham, he would already be the next manager.
Well, I
don't think so.
I would
wonder,
say that whoever our next manager is going to be, I'd say the paperwork's already been done. Whether that's
I think there's a bit of cat and mouse going on behind the scenes as well. I think there's something in the contract that says if you sack me, you've got to give me this, but if I leave, you've got to give me fuck all. And I reckon there's a bit of cat and mouse going on at the moment. I reckon you're right. I reckon someone's lined up, but I think Conte's stubborn enough. Well, you look at the way he plays his football, he doesn't change it for fuck all. I think he is stubborn enough to be sat there going.
Have you seen the chat? Sorry, Matt, I'm cutting across you there. This, I don't know where that's Build Sport. That's a German source.
Tottenham have made contact with the agents of Frankfurt coach.
Yeah, that's what stopped me talking. I just saw that come in. But yeah, I wonder if there's a bit of a Mexican standoff going at the moment. Who's going to flinch first?
Well, they're both stubborn, aren't they? They're both stubborn. And in terms of winning trophies, you don't bring in a Jose to win a trophy and then because it might cost you a bit of money, sack him before his first chance of winning, less than a week before. I think that was a whole waste of time appointment. That was sacking
also at the time of the Super League as well. That was at the time of the Super League as well.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous and a waste of time. That, yeah, I mean, who do you think, Mac, will be the next manager? This Glasner guy, Poch, someone else?
I think
the permanent manager. Ignore the fact that Conte might leave and then Mason to the end of the season.
Yeah,
who do you think's in charge at the start next season?
Sadly, my head says Pochettino because I think he'll go with an appeasement signing to quiet most of the fans. Most of the fans down because let's be honest, it's more than 50% of the fan base that want Pochettino back, or that's how it appears on social media. So I think he'll go with Poch, or he'll do his best to get Poch. Because if he doesn't get Poch, it will be we did everything we could to get Poch to try and again appease the fan base. If not, I don't know who's that Spanish fella Enrique. I think he's in with a shout.
Is that another Conte and Jose thing? Just too.
Do you know what? I don't know enough about him.
Pointy.
I don't know enough about him to say whether he would be or he wouldn't. He might be completely different from what we know. He just might have been one of these guys who's actually that good. He ends up going to places with money rather than, going somewhere and building something. I don't know. I might say my head says Poch, but I don't know. If I had a choice, I'd try and get Brighton's manager away from him.
Yeah.
That was in the press tonight. That was well. Yeah. But
who would you get back? Who do you think's in charge, Brad, first game of the season next year?
The one thing you have to look at is who would want to come to Tottenham, because at the moment, I'm not sure any manager, any decent manager, would want to come. No. So you'd probably think that out of all those managers, Pochettino would be one that'd be willing to come back. Yeah. So I think my money would be on him. I don't know who this Frankfurt guy is. I'm not sure either. Looking up on my app.
I'm doing that while everyone else is talking.
See, if we go into, was it the German league?
Ryan Mason to the end of the season, definitely.
What Belcher says probably end up with Ryan Mason. Is that permanently, Rob, or just till the end of the season that you're thinking?
To be fair, wasn't Glasner the manager when they beat West Ham? At Frankfurt,
I'm not sure.
In the Europa, and then beat Rangers in the final.
I mean, Ted Lasso's popular, and that season's finished. They finished filming, so get him in.
Frankfurt, is that Eintracht? Is it Eintracht?
Yeah. Eintracht Frankfurt's manager.
Does anybody know what his style of play is? Just reading about that, he looks to be one of these. I don't mean to sound it disparagingly. I don't mean it at all. One of these scientifically based managers like Potter and like Thomas Frank. He seems to be that kind of manager. Born in 74, so what does that make him coming up?
It makes 48, doesn't it?
49. Good age. Go on. I don't know anything about him, and I don't know Rob.
I think that it's definitely going to be an attacking manager. We've had 3 non-attacking managers after the Hotspur's DNA.
Conte does attack. He just does it in the media.
Yeah, like I said, bring Ted Lasso in. Mike Bassett's been out of work for a little while, but who do you think will be in charge, Ian?
Where did you say benches and edges?
Everyone likes sports. Everyone likes sport. Who do you think will be in charge first game of the season?
First game of next season.
Yeah, I mean, it ain't going to be Conte, I don't think.
Well,
it could be with
Conte.
It could be with your 3 years.
I wouldn't venture to put a name forward. I'm not convinced it's going to be Pochettino. For all kinds of reasons, I'm not convinced it should be Pochettino. Not least of which, I think the aesthetics are really bad if Poch comes back. It's like, well, what have we done? What have we actually done for 3 years?
Still kept the same furniture,
and what have you, and not even any new furniture for your new house.
It's Bobby Ewing moment, isn't it?
I'd rather give you some names that I would like to see.
Yeah, go for it.
And the manager I would probably go as my number one choice would be Thomas Frank from Brentford. With his analytics, Matt doesn't like that, but with his analytics,
no, I'm unsure. I'm unsure about Thomas Frank.
Let me carry on.
Like with thingy to Potter to Chelsea. I think it's a step too far at the moment? That's where I sit with him.
Yeah. The other manager I think should be looked at is Postecoglou at Celtic. If you ever watch Celtic, they play the kind of football that Tottenham fans will drool over. Obviously,
would Scottish Premier League to Premier League be a step too far, or do you not?
I think there's all kinds of talk from people in Scotland that he's not only a Premier League quality manager, he's a Premier League top 6 quality coach. I mean, remember, I watch Celtic very regularly,
and he's got Champions League experience because he's got
Champions League experience. Yeah. He plays glorious football. I mean, he plays football that makes
the Australian guy.
The other one, and I forgot. Is it Gallardo? His name, the guy from River Plate.
Yeah, I don't know too much about him, to be honest.
Again, I don't know a lot about him, but he wins. He's won trophies, and he plays football on the front foot.
Yeah, Christian won trophies, though, didn't he?
So that's 3 names. I know nothing about this guy. Nothing about this guy at Eintracht Frankfurt. But they're the kind of managers that I would like. Thomas Frank, there's a comment. Do play good attacking football? I think they do. I think they do with the resources that they've got. They're certainly not a team that I would call defensive.
When it comes to Thomas Frank, what sticks with me is I thought Nuno was going to be a good signing because I thought, do you know what? The way he plays his football with Wolves, with a better squad, he will do better. And that's kind of again where I sit with Thomas Frank. But I don't think it makes a blind bit of fucking difference who we get, right? I don't think until
because of Levy.
Until we not even that, but until we've got another decent. If we go to a back 4, we need at least 2 more. Either way, we need 2 more decent centre backs. And until that defence is sorted, we've got fuck all. We've got Porro on the right with Royal backing him up, which I think right side we're looking okay. Left side we've got Destiny coming over. To be fair, I'd have Reggie back. I don't think he should have gone on loan in the first place. I think he's still got a lot of potential there that could have been exploited under Conte. With Davies as a backup. Left side, you got Son. Richarlison came in. I think like I say, it doesn't matter who comes in. If our defence is still shit, we're still going to ship goals. We're still going to balance, and then we're done. It makes no odds.
Let me get. How you doing, Marlon?
Marlon,
good.
How you doing,
Marlon? How you doing?
Better late than never, son.
Before we come to you, Marlon, and see what you make of the last couple of days, let me get through to a few comments. There's quite a few chalking up. So Wayne Bono, if Conte goes, board should go for NVK. His style of play will suit our team, especially if we go to a back 4. It's also heard that Mike Bassett took the job up at Chelsea after they sacked Tuchel. Chris Hagenbar says, if Poch came back, it would like the board admitting their mistake and wasted 3 years. They won't admit it, though, will they? Bob Belcher, another name that's been linked. I wouldn't mind another City stalwart, Vincent Kompany. Unfortunately, I can't see the dross we have playing tiki-taka. Anthony Herbert, I know he's an Arsenal fan. Arsenal to win the league. I think if you don't, then you will have the Spursy tag. Big up, Bob Spur.
Hey, Bob.
I tell you what, you can tell that little Herbert, he can keep Rob Holding. Not a fucking chance.
Yeah.
We're not that desperate.
And like you said, Mac, Doggy looking great. I agree. Centre back is a crucial position. Then creative midfield, says Tom. How you doing, Marlon?
I did hear that apparently Spence had a good game against Mbappe on the weekend.
Mate, I had a good game about 3 years ago. I scored a hat-trick, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be any good for Spurs.
Yeah. Thanks for all your comments coming in as well, by the way. Keep them coming in, who you would like and everything like that. 15 people watching at the moment, 9 likes. Please hit that like up, get those likes up. Really helps the channel. If you haven't done so already, subscribe as well on 296.
If you don't hit the like button, I'll threaten you with a Chris Magic trick.
Actually, Mac, I keep thinking you've got a marker pen in your hand, and like you're going to suddenly get a whiteboard out and start writing on it. You know?
Yeah. I'm writing the welcome back message for Poch.
But Marlon, what do you make of Conte's outburst? Was he right in doing it? Whose fault is everything that he said? Initial thoughts of the whole outburst and circus following Tottenham round at this moment in time.
Do you know what? I have mixed feelings about it. Really mixed feelings. Like, I obviously heard Brad and Ian talk on my show on the weekend, but they obviously missed it because obviously it came out after they'd been on. But I've been going through, like, I've just been thinking about it. Like, the outburst was probably a bit too far, but you can expect, you can understand why it's come. You know, Conte is a proven winner, yeah, as he has been at every club. He's come to Tottenham, and it's just stay fourth. That's all we're gonna like. Everyone will moan about how much we spent in the summer, but the squad was bulked up, and this is the one bit everyone forgets about and why we had to spend more money was because we went from 3 subs to 5, right? And we couldn't go with the same bench we had last season. Otherwise, we would have been a lot more weaker than we were. But I think Conte's got to a point. He's 1 week he's protecting the players, 1 week he's not, and yeah. For me, I'm at the point where I want the players gone before Conte and Levy. I've always been I want Levy gone, but I'm at that point now where the players keep letting managers down time after time after time. Levy needs to change his philosophy and how he wants to do things. It was quite weird because before I came on here, I was listening to Talk Sport, and the one thing that they all agreed is that Levy's been here 20 years. He probably needs now to step aside and give someone else new ideas, because if you're doing the same job for 20 years, I think all of us can sit here and say we haven't changed nothing. We're still doing the exact same job. Most of us will get bored. You know, it becomes second nature to start doing your job. This is why we go for promotions and this, that, and the other. But with Daniel Levy, where else can he go? Right? So, but obviously Conte's trying to protect himself now because his reputation. Like, let's take some of his comments, right? I know a lot of people, especially if you're Enoch out, right, would have been looking at going, that's brilliant, that's fantastic. But he tried to protect them as well, and he was trying to solely point at the players. The thing that kind of messed him up was when he said 20 years. But actually, when actually give away that one. Yeah. But when you actually look at what he was trying to say, it's like the same mentality. Like, let's take like there was a bit I think on American TV where they said in at halftime, Højbjerg was trying to tell the players, stay focused, do this, do that. 2 minutes as soon as they come out on the pitch, they can see the goal. It's a constant thing with these players. They're just into nobody, right? And Levy already, like Enoch have already come out and said that they made mistakes with signings over the last 4 years, right? That's why we've got so many on loan. The players we've got have no heart. Like Conte has basically said, you need to start playing for the fans now, right? You can sit there and moan about our football and the way we play, but you can't even string 2 passes together. Right? Let's take the
Marlon, just quickly to jump in, very quickly, what you just said there about playing for the fans. Do you think the fans play a big part and we should start being more positive and rather than going quiet after 5 minutes because the passing has been shit and it looks dull and Emerson's fucking, nearly fucking giving the ball away for an own goal or fucking whatever. Do you think that we as a fan base should, whether it be fake it for a little while, a bit like Friday night when your husband comes home from the pub, well, I'm going to fake it for a bit, all right, just to get over the hump, or do we have a mentality change ourselves? Because let's be honest, we are quite a toxic fan base, and I don't think that we help the situation.
No, and it's weird that you say that, because on Saturday I went straight on We Are Tottenham TV, and I was kind of like, actually, when you look at it,
Hi, Ian's wife. Hi. Hey, Ian, you're punching, bruv.
Yeah, the worst of it is she's got a tattoo, Matt. You've had me worried now.
She only came in to see me, mate. Don't worry. She said her phone's broken. She couldn't text, but now I know it's because you're at home.
I mean, a couple of comments here. Tom Markinen says, his blow-up says it like it is. It's accountability aside. Unfortunately, most fans will hate on Conte and miss the point. The players are too comfortable. Board want top four. And Chris Agenborough says, it was a pointed gun at the players and a shot off the bow for the board, a calculated move by Conte. So it kind of brings me bad. Was he looking to get fired because he's had enough? If it was a calculated move, was he looking for Levy to fine, don't come back from Italy? Because he was probably already going to go to Italy in this international break anyway.
I don't think it was. I mean, I think Conte is a very calculating person when he does his press conferences, but
emotional.
I don't think he was doing that on Saturday to get fired. I think he might have had the attitude, I don't really care anymore. He might have had that attitude, but I don't think he was doing it as, if I do this, if I say this, they'll fire me and I'll get compensation, blah, and I'm out of here, back with my family, blah, 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 blah. No, I think that was just from the heart. I think it was, as I said at the start of this program, he was just saying what every single one of us was saying when that final whistle went. And I think that's what it was. I don't think it was calculated. It might have been done without caring about what happens to him, but I don't think it was calculated. They're going to sack me if I say this.
I mean, what's the point? FC reckons that he's got.
Do you know what? I was just thinking. I'm wondering if this comment is something that makes Levy go, do you know what? Actually, maybe this is the guy.
Yeah. And let me read it out for people who are listening. I've got a feeling that Conte is going to stay, and he'll receive full backing in the summer. Honestly, I'm not high.
I think we'll be the judge of that.
Any validity in that for you, Ian?
I don't think
it could be the case.
I would be surprised. I don't think certainly the majority of supporters that I speak to, as I alluded to earlier, want Conte to stay. They're absolutely sick of him and sick of the football. I take a different view. If he was coming and saying that and saying I'm committing and the players that aren't up to it and aren't good enough, you better look for other jobs because you won't be here. I would have a lot more.
Question for you.
Hang on, yeah. Matt. Let me because I want to pick up something Marlon said. I think he said he was listening to Talk Sport earlier and about Levy having to step aside. I mean, my understanding, and I was really happy about this, was why he brought in Paratici. All right, we had problems. We ended up with Nuno, not my appointment, but Matt, your view. But then Paratici clearly persuaded Conte, after he didn't come in the summer, that he would come now. And Paratici, as I understand it, has been negotiating and buying the players, perhaps with the exception of Spence, who was a club signing, and I thought that was pretty poor management all round by Conte. It's an absolute lose-lose situation. But of course now we've got. What's the word I'm looking for? Over Paratici. I've not got the right word, because a cloud over Paratici, because we don't know if he's going to be banned from football. And it's like, why does this always happen to us? Why always us? And it's like, but surely, Levy or whoever was responsible should have done more due diligence on what was happening in Italy. Because I don't think
it's sod's law. We lose somebody through fraud, but Arsenal can keep their rapist midfielder playing week in, week out. We're just unlucky, And I'm not saying that to have a dig at Arsenal, but you look at the way certain things are dealt with, and doesn't matter what way you paint it, we always end up with a little bit of the negative rub of the green. But the question I wanted to pose to you, and to be fair, I'll pose it to everybody, is the comment made by What's the Point about Conte staying. Now, we've made quite a few signings that Conte wants. Kulusevski, Bentancur, Basuma, Richarlison. I with exception to right back, Spence.
Spence,
With the exception of Spence, everybody we have been led to believe it was rubber stamped by Conte. Right, that's a lot of people in, and apart from a goalkeeper and defenders, right. Would it be stupid not to keep Conte or try to keep Conte or even think that he might leave? Because how far away is he, player-wise, from having a team that actually is going to... And we did 7 in the last transfer window. We did 2 prior to that. You know, how far is this, you know, the rebuild that Conte is looking for? And if we go back to what we said before Marlon came on air, which was... The reason we're probably, or my opinion is, we're playing the way we're playing is because we haven't got a defence that Conte trusts. Therefore, everybody else has got to be more defensive-minded. But if we're only 1 goalkeeper and 2 central defenders away, right, from a squad that Conte is actually sat there going, I trust these guys, then why wouldn't he stay? Or, you know, why wouldn't it increase the chances of him staying?
I'm sorry, I just spat my tea at Chris's comment about we'll be getting signings from Black Sea West Wing in a couple of seasons, depending on if he's out for good behaviour.
Couple more, what's the point?
Thanks for that, Chris.
Spurs need to open the Spurs Depression Clinic so we can talk about the history of Tottenham. Luca 14, how you doing, buddy? He was also Conte having a go at all the journalists. What's the point? On the negative side, if Conte signs, it means we won't get a cheap grade C central attacking midfielder for 15 to 25 million. We'll get another defensive midfielder. And Bryce, plain old Bryce, how you doing, buddy? Come on in. Do you honestly believe in your heart of hearts Levy was only involved in just suspense deal? How many
I'll come back on that. No, not at all. I mean, in fact, the distinguished journalist John Sopel reported that Levy was having dinner on the next table with Bill Kenwright the day before we signed. So the source was immaculate.
A nice Bernays.
The day before we signed Richarlison. I don't have any doubt that Levy is not uninvolved. I don't think he's very much a hands-on micromanager. I don't think for a minute that he's not involved in the signings. What I'm trying to say there, Bryce, plain old Bryce, is that the Spence transfer was the one that I think he did, and he went for on whoever's advice that Conte clearly didn't want and Conte wasn't approving. I think the others, the Bentancurs, the Bissoumas, the Kulusevskis, the Richarlison, were all done with the blessing of Conte, and I would be staggered if he was making those kind of investments without Conte's approval. I just don't see that. That's what I was alluding to.
Yeah. One other thing you mentioned, Ian, earlier, the whole Paratici, Levy must have done his due diligence. Do you think he could have done his due diligence and thought? No. He's going to be done for all of this stuff, so that takes the focus off me. They're going to focus on him, and hoping that people don't put two and two together. Why did you bloody employ him then?
Absolutely.
What's the point, FC?
That was happening?
What's the point, FC? You're right. We do imagine. Will it happen? Who knows? Just saying. Just imagine if Conte got top class central defenders. I do. I know what. I don't think we're that far away from a Conte team. And
I was going to agree with you. This is where I was taking it on at the weekend as well with Gareth.
I take that as a huge compliment, Marlon.
You said something, and I've been saying this because Conte is. You look at the players we've signed, you look at everything that's going on. We're signing players for his system. Right now, every manager we've been linked with, that everybody wants, we want this attacking manager, this, that, and the other. You then have to probably go back to a 4 at the back. Do we have the defense right now to play 4 at the back? Do we have the wing backs to play 4 at the back as well? I think Royale's probably the only natural right back that we've got at the club, right? So
Udog is a left back, isn't he?
But he's more of a wing. He's more of a wing back, and he's more of a wing back. So you're looking at it and going, actually, because Romero cannot play in a 2. I don't care what anyone says to me, he cannot play. I've seen him play in a 2, and if he's gonna look, let's be honest, against AC Milan, everyone asked for him to change it, right? And he changed it to a 4, right, which everyone forgot, and then Romero gets sent off, right? And Conte's like, oh my god, fuck, and didn't know what to do himself because he was like, I've actually gone and changed the system to what everyone wanted, and Romero's gone and got himself sent off. I was surprised by that sub in the end. But actually, when you look at the team as it is, yeah, we probably didn't realise we needed a goalkeeper, but we need to replace that now. And 2 central defenders. And we probably need an attacking mid just to come on and change the game. Right? Yeah. So you're talking 4 players really, because the rest of the team's been signed. We've got Porro, we've got Spence, they've got to come back. You've got Romero and another back too. You give him the players he wants, because if you go look at the football he played at Inter, if you go look at the football he played at Chelsea, it was fantastic football. And if you look at parts of last season, like, let's be honest, when we played Arsenal last year in a 3-0 win, I didn't hear no one saying it was boring. It was great football we were playing. It's just, he's come to this season and he's gone, what do I do? He goes, I've got a defence I can't trust. I didn't get any of the defence that I wanted. And I've got stopgaps, right? Longley, he probably knew that he's good with the ball, but if you get a player running at him, he's useless. Dyer, a central defender that never makes a tackle. Sanchez, yeah. Ben Davies is the only person that I'm not going to put in that bracket because he's not naturally a central defender, but he's Mr. Consistent. 6 or 7.
He's stable, isn't he? He's Mr. Reliable. You know that if he's in the squad, you're going to get a solid performance. Yeah.
But as soon as he comes off on Saturday from left back, where he's been, I thought, a much better player for us, it all goes tits up. And this is Ben Davies. So you kind of have to go in the situation, what the hell's going on? Right, but my biggest gripe at the moment is, right, and I know everyone is talking, like, Saturday, the biggest gripe for me is, right, you're 15 minutes left, you haven't won an away game for like the last 4 or 5 games. Which manager is going to sit there and not try and shut up shop, even against the bottom team, knowing what our defense is like? Now you're sitting there and telling me that defense, that this starting 11 can't sit there and defend for 15 minutes, right, against Southampton, who are bottom. If they can't defend against Southampton, what hope have we got? And like, doesn't matter if they want to play the football or not. It was 15 minutes that they had to defend for as a team.
And you say, mark your players up. Mark your players up for 16 minutes. Don't let them go. You see that second goal that Walcott scored, where Dyer goes, "Oh, I'm going to leave you standing there because I'm going to go on the goal line."
Yeah, of all the fucking players as well.
Because I think Pep, like everyone will go, but Pep's done it before, where he's playing the bottom side. And they're 3 or 4-0 up, and he's gone last 15 minutes. You know what? Let me take the Bruyne off. It happens. Even at the top club, it happens. So everyone will sit. I believe it was the wrong tactic as well. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I'm thinking, you've got to defend against Southampton. This is a team that can't score at home. And you have to then look at the players and go, you're not cut out for this. And the other thing is, all of them say, I want to be playing Champions League football. And yet they can't. You look at the AC Milan game, right? Yes, the tactics might have been wrong, but how many passes did they actually string together between each other? None. This is a professional football team we're talking. Yeah.
I thought that was a trick question for a minute, Marlon. No.
I mean, this issue we're having.
Yeah, I mean, Brad, we've got this comment from DJ Kenny. Calling out selfishness was aimed at attacking approach, lack of leader in ass kicking on the pitch. Stick Kane in midfield who would still score and be given a proper captain's role, Poch in. But question to you, and we'll go round the board. Was he attacking a specific player or players, or was it everyone as a whole? He obviously didn't mention any names, but for you, was he calling out certain players?
No, because I'm going back to what I said about he said what every fan was thinking. And every fan was thinking, you bunch of, well, I won't say the word, but you bunch
of... We'll leave that to Mac. You can say the first part and he can say the
Cunts.
And I think, he was saying, you bunch of accountants, I think that's what you were saying at the time. Sorry. Oh, Ian, you're an accountant? Sorry.
He looks like one, doesn't he? He hasn't smiled all stream.
But I think that that was directed at the whole team. I don't think it's directed in there. Afterwards, he might in the first. Well, I might be back at training with him for 2 weeks, but he might pick out certain players. But I think at that moment in time, it's just you bunch of whatever, and I think that's what it was.
Anyone think he was picking on anyone in particular, or it was everybody?
I'll be honest. I've already mentioned it. I mentioned before Marlon came on. I think there was a swipe at Kane without saying Kane, because he knows the backlash he'll get from calling out Kane by name. Like I said, the shot that he put over the top left corner when he should have squared it to Son when he came in from the right.
Reaction to that, he was annoyed.
Examples. Right now, I don't care if Son hasn't had the best season. He's still in the better position to score that goal, right? On both of those opportunities, right? Even if all Son did was hold it up to play it back to Kane because he got himself a little extra yard of space. Because I swear to God, mate, anybody calls out Kane, all of a sudden, that's it. They're a leper. You don't call out our boy Kane. But sometimes Kane needs to be called out. I've been out Kane out for years. You know, the guy never shows up in big games. Don't get me wrong, fair play. He's taking it on. He's tried to maybe pick things up by the scruff of the neck. But at the same time, he's made the wrong options. He's tried to be selfish for whatever reason, and he hasn't looked at what's around him. And then for me, he's calling out Kane without saying Kane.
And look, at the end of the day, Kane has to be selfish because look, he's a top class striker, and most top class strikers have to be selfish. But when you listen to Arsenal fans, and this is the weirdest thing, they always go, there was something else to Thierry Henry's game, right? And that was the assists, right? And that's what Mourinho tried to bring out in Kane, to say, actually, it's not just you putting the ball in the back of the net. Look for your teammates.
And I said this earlier, Marlon. This is one thing that Conte hasn't done and has put a real spanner in the works is that symmetry, that symbiotic partnership.
And that's kind of gone. And where Perisic has come in as well, it's just Son's game. Son, let's be honest, Son last year, right, probably had the best start. And that was the reason why he ended up top goal scorer. Because actually, if you look at the games in between, there was a period, I remember Spurs fans saying, Son's got to be dropped, right? This was under Conte. So I'm not surprised that Son is the way he is this season. It's not rocket science. But at the end of the day, it's not just, it is Kane. Kane's part of the problem as well, right? But it's a collective, and you can see it's a collective. The whole team is just like the races. They are 11 individuals. And a lot of people go, oh, why is he getting paid 15 million a year? Ain't he got to do this? But at the same time, no one's questioned why Levy got paid a £6 million or whatever it was a year. No one's ever questioned why the players get paid. But Conte's walked into that conference and he's gone, the media just keep hammering me, but yet the board get away with it. But bigger, the players are getting away with it. And actually, collectively, they're getting paid more than Conte, right? And everyone's going, oh, Conte should be doing this, Conte should be doing that. But at the end of the day, are these players not getting paid enough to actually want to better their own careers? Or they just, as you said, there's no, as long as there's no pressure, they're good. But this is the problem with good players. They're all right for no pressure games, but when you actually want to go to that next level and want to be consistent, good players are not good enough.
And this also then comes back to depth in squad, though, Marlon. When you know your name's going on that first 11 every week without fail, whether you turn up for training or not, because you ain't got anybody better to take your place, then why should you put the effort in? I'm going to get me a couple of £100,000 a week. I'm gonna try and score a goal, and win or lose, it don't matter because next Saturday, I'm starting again.
You know what? Sorry, I know Ian's sort of next. Just quite quickly. The one thing that no one's picked up on that interview or that press conference was when the guy said to him, "Do you think that your situation has had an effect on the players?" And Conte immediately says, "Stop giving them excuses." And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. Just stop finding them excuses. And I thought that was and no one seems to be talking about that. I thought that was absolutely brilliant.
No, and that's brilliant because everyone will talk about Conte's not signing, but Harry Kane's in the same situation. Nobody knows if he's going to be here next year. So his teammates don't even know if he's going to be here next year. What are they going to have excuses to not play with him? Is his contract situation not the same as Conte's? Right? I know he's got an extra year, but everyone's like, "Oh my God, is Kane going to be 100 million? If we don't qualify for the Champions League, are we going to have Kane?" So actually, the players must be thinking to themselves, "I'm going to be here next year. My contract says this. The manager's going to be gone." But we don't even know if my star striker is going to be here. So everyone's in the same situation. But no one will talk about Kane in his situation.
To be fair, Sonny at the moment looks like a man whose best friend is slowly dying of some terrible illness. He knows it's a matter of time before he's gone and his heart's going to break, which means next season he's going to be dog shit as well. But it does, and it does. He looks forlorn. He looks like a man who's already got a broken heart because his best mate's doing one.
Well, do you think Kane will leave, Ian? For me, if I was Kane in this shit show, I'd be wanting to get out as soon as possible. I've got my record. I ain't going to win anything with this unless something drastic changes, and we've been saying that for the last 5 years.
I think so, and another new manager. But I think the points that the boys have made, are well made in respect of Kane. One of the things you look at the body language, his seems to be the first head that drops when we let in a goal and give away a bad goal. I don't see him as showing the kind of leadership that, and it was actually on. It might have been on. Was it on Bob's show or Eugene's show earlier today? Someone said about there is a complete lack of leadership and has been for a while on the field. Because that, when the going gets tough, the tough get going is okay. It's one of those old throwaway sayings, but it does mean something. And I don't see that people rolling their sleeves up in the days of the Steve Perrimans or Alan Mullerys. We don't have that kind of leadership on the field on the field anymore, and it doesn't come from Lloris, it doesn't come from Dyer, it doesn't come from Kane. So it is difficult. One of the things I've been trying to get in at the right time. Matt Law, Daily Telegraph, tweeted an hour ago. Over the past 20 years, Levy has hired 10 permanent coaches who, between them, have won 61 trophies. Before and after managing Spurs. Between them all in that time, they have won 1 trophy at Tottenham.
Oh, that's damning, isn't it? That's damning.
It's frightening, isn't it, that statistic? Absolutely frightening as to where we are at a club.
To be fair, if you're a Levy out person, that would be the first thing you would say. If anyone said to you, why do you not want Levy or Enoch at your club? That would be the first stat. Yeah, that you would say. Well, certainly I would say.
But there was something that Brad said earlier, and it was something else in the interview, and Conte mentioned that Sheffield United game, right? And he said the players don't have the hunger or desire, right? Now every single person has come out and said we should have taken that seriously and gone with our first team, right? But at the end of the day, Sheffield United have players missing. Like not even championship.
Or the 8, someone wasn't it? We said earlier about 8 players.
Do you think because of that, Marlon, we turned up there going, "Oh, they've got a weakened team. We've won this. We're better than them," and then had the game won in our heads before the game even started?
No, I think it generally goes to Conte's comments. They didn't. A lot of them had the ump. They were kind of like you could tell they didn't have. Like I take the North London derby days, right? Both North London derby games. Right, that for me sums up these players. Right, I think we've had worse squads, but when it comes to the North London derby, they were putting the effort. You can see they were trying, but the home and the away game, I sat there and I went, "What the hell is this?" Not apart from Sarr in that second game, which I felt sorry for him. None of them boys tried. There was no commitment. There was no trying. There was no heart to go. Actually, let's do this for the fans. They literally just rolled. Royale sending off didn't help in the first game, but they just got steamrolled. Both games with no effort, and we've been like you got to imagine we've played teams where they've had Henry and all them, right? And we've put in more effort than that, and we've struggled against.
You look back at the days at 4-4. David Bentley in the middle, really, but still corner screamer, played his heart off, and he's an Arsenal boy. Do you know what I mean?
I thought the first game, the 3-1 at Emirates, I thought. We looked quite good in that first half when Kane scored. We were all over them. Another 10 minutes, I think we'd have taken the lead. The issue is we come out second half, completely different team, so negative, make stupid mistakes, game's done. Then Romero, Emerson has his mad moment and game over. But there were elements in there, certainly in that first half after Kane scored for 10 minutes and then half time went, that we looked like we were.
I think no, but that was it.
But you've got to then come out and take that straight into the second half. We didn't. We regressed to really back down and so negative, and then they killed us.
For me, from since that moment, I don't expect anything from the boys no more. Like Sheffield United was not a surprise for me, and like seeing that on Saturday when I was sitting there and I was going 3-1. You know what? I can still see us conceding, and that's exactly what they did. They just don't surprise me no more.
I think the thing is it must be the belief, because the Arsenal game, the belief must have gone, and we've also conceded a lot of early goals in the second half. Saturday, it was a great example. And even when I was watching the Sheffield United game, after 60 minutes, when we hadn't scored, I suddenly thought, yeah, this is Sheffield United going to win this. And you can see Sheffield United, the way they started that game off was like, okay, let's give it a go. We're not expected to win this. Let's give it a go. And then at the 60-minute mark, it changed. Sheffield United thought, hang on a minute, we can win this. You know, we can do it.
We're not 3-0 down.
Yeah. And that's what happened. And yeah, they're conceding goals, especially after scoring a goal.
You know what? People, sorry, Brad, people sit there just because you just reminded me mentioning the United game again. But also as well, people sit there saying we should have played our strongest squad. Against Sheffield United, even our second string should have been the strongest squad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they should have
and yeah, so it shouldn't have mattered where we'd have changed it because
we had a £60 million player.
Footballers.
Yeah, £60 million player playing up front.
That was down to up there again, wasn't it, Matt?
Yeah.
What was going on up there wasn't good enough.
Don't get me wrong. There was certain sects and little grumbles I heard of. Well, yeah, they've thrown the FA Cup, our best chance of a trophy, because top four is more important. Whether that is the case or whether it isn't, who knows? And we'll never know the answer to that. But either way, it's got to be mentality, because you look at the way that we have been for a prolonged period in games. You know, we haven't shown anything. We've shown no fight. We've shown no desire. We've shown no determination for the badge. We've shown no determination for the fans. But also at the same time, back to my earlier comment, as a fan base, we probably haven't done enough to get behind our boys as much as we should.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt, you go to quite a few away games, don't you? I mean, I think
I've been. Yeah, I've been this season.
Away from home is pretty good and pretty.
Do you know what? Yeah, do you know what? The support is normally great, but to be fair, it doesn't matter what you like away. They say you're supposed to make your home your fortress. And how many times have we sat there? And Pompey game for me is a prime example, right? I went to the Pompey Cup game with my I took the wife and kids to the game, right? Who else was there?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Right? Who left embarrassed to have been outsung for 90 minutes by 8,000 Pompey fans?
I wasn't embarrassed because I know Pompey fans. They're really good fans.
I was, because and I'm embarrassed about it every week, right? Last season when we did Arsenal 3-0 at the Lane, we made their life hell to the point where Gary Neville even said we battered them as a fan base for 60 minutes.
I left it. It didn't surprise me.
Oh, Ian, is Conte gone? The hands up.
Yeah, no. But Matt Law, another tweet come from the Spurs Express. Tottenham are expected to part ways with Antonio Conte later this week. That's the.
But if they're going to do it late this week, just bloody do it now. I know there's an international break.
Do you know what? The way you keep
the message now,
Chris. Ian, are you genuinely looking at Twitter, or is the wife watching in the next room and she's going to ask you questions as to why you're looking at your phone so much?
Why I'm fantasizing over Antonio Conte. Anyway, yeah.
I mean, if that's the case that they sack him this week rather than now, obviously they're trying to tie up something for the next manager.
It's going to happen.
Dot the I's and cross the T's. So.
I mean, the next manager will want assurances on Kane. I think he's going to be leaving. It was mentioned in the chat, I'm not sure who, that this guy, Richarlison, was signed with a view for Kane leaving. He's now injured again.
Do you want me to say something I've said on a regular occurrence, right, about Harry Kane, right? As much as I think potentially there's more chance of him going now than there's ever been, I would not surprise me if he stayed. And the reason why it wouldn't surprise me is every season, don't get me wrong, I think he loves Spurs. I don't think there's any doubt.
That's why he hasn't left before, because his heart.
But also I think every time he says, "Oh, as long as Spurs match my ambition," and Chris, you'll know I've said this. Brad, you'll vouch. How many times have I said, "As long as Spurs match my ambition, I'll stay"? He knows how Levy runs that club.
What is his ambition?
Has the ambition ever been met? Personally, I don't think it has been. Right, but he still stayed. So why not see that in the last couple of years?
Anyone that's at the Man City game that saw his speech after that game, you thought, well, he ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Match my ambition, I'll stay. But he knows how that club's run. They've not matched the ambition, right? They've not invested, but he stays. So is there an element of he knows he's the big fish and he likes that? So that's one of the reasons he'll stay. If he goes to Bayern, if he goes to Man U, he ain't the big fish. He might score a lot of goals, but he ain't going to be the.
There's one thing that really gets me when they talk about football. And I said the same thing about Son. They said, "Oh, he signed another 5-year contract. What, has he got no ambition? Oh, Kane's still here. Has he got no ambition? Maybe, just maybe, they actually like playing for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club and actually do love the club, like we as fans do. I'm not making a parallel. I'm not making a parallel between us fans and players.
What do you think? What do you think,
Marlon? At the
Marlon?
end of the season, oh, sod this lot. I'm going to go and support Man City now. At least I'm going to get a trophy there. We don't do it.
What do you think, Marlon? You're giggling to yourself in the corner. What's your view on all of this stuff?
No, Brad made actually good. I think we all look at it going, you know what? Why is the players going to feel like us and want to stay? It's like, we don't even want to stay.
I mean,
but we stay.
Do you know the only reason why I'm still a Tottenham fan? I've got 2 tattoos I can't afford laser removal on.
I'm with you, Jim. I'm with you, Mac. I'm the same.
No, I'm talking from the point of view that Kane is a Spurs lad.
Yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, so is Son. I'm not saying that any other player who's got no affiliation with the club, but you know, the players that were fans, like Oliver Skip being another one, yeah, maybe that's what they want to do. They want to play for Tottenham. And for Kane, winning something for Tottenham, even though it might not happen, is more important to him than winning a trophy for a club that he doesn't give a shit about.
I mean,
do you know what I think? I actually am quite thankful we went out to Sheffield United, because the one thing for me I would have said is, if we'd have gone and won the FA Cup and we've beaten Jimmy Greaves' record, I'd have been sat here saying, with those 2 things complete, I think Kane would have definitely gone, because he's broke the record and he's won a cup with the club that he loves. You know, he's ticked in my opinion, he's then ticked every box at Spurs.
I remember you saying that on the show a few.
Yeah, I said that. Part of me was like, I hope we win out. I actually said part of me hopes we don't win, because I think the minute he's won a cup and he's broke the record, for me that would be definitely 110% game over. Kane's gone.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Richarlison taking over, what's the point here? Isn't it, fan? No composure on the ball, not a good football brain, can't even get in the right positions, can't even provide assists, never mind goals. That's where he's not playing as a striker.
But his shithousery is on point.
Yeah. But in terms of Kane leaving, whether he has wanted to leave or before, do you think Levy is the reason he hasn't? I've seen labelled earlier this week £100 million on a 29-year-old, 1 year left on his contract, and you know, last year, I think Man City only bid about 70 million trying to test the waters, and Levy ain't going to fall for that. But
what's the
he's
point?
Worth 100 million. It's worth 100 million to us, because that's what we'd have to spend to replace him. But as far as another team buying him, no, that's too much.
But do you think he's not been allowed to leave, in the sense that Levy's priced him out of a move? And in a year's time, Levy's not going to have that luxury if Kane doesn't sign a deal. But up to this point, and certainly last year, and this summer, do you think he'll be priced out of a move, and then hope we can do something to convince him to stay?
We're going to end up with another Eriksen situation where he doesn't sign a contract. I think in so many ways, this is the biggest transfer dilemma that what's his name, that Levy's going to have as to what he does. In some respects, is he toast if he lets Kane go? For the first time, the social media seems to accept that Kane may go, and Kane might even be right to go. Whether he would say, look, sign a 3-year contract, but if because he's got 1 year left to go, so a 3-year extension after the year after next, so the 1 year after the extension, if we haven't won anything, you can go for a fixed price of 50 million, 40 million, because you'll be 31 by then, I think. Yeah. I don't know. I think Brad said, or somebody said earlier anyway, if a new manager is coming in, you would think they would want some assurances that Kane will stay or be required to stay. I mean, it's difficult, because here we are. I mean, how many more years are we going to be having these conversations? I mean, when Conte came in with a director of football, I thought genuinely the club would have a real opportunity to kick in. The stadium, the finances, everything was set. And look at it. It's as big a shit show as it's ever been.
It feels worse than last season, but we're in a better position in the league, which is a bit bizarre, I think.
Question on that, though, because we're saying right now, but are we just going through that painful rebuild that we kind of have to go through now? Like, we have to be patient with what's going on. Like Ian's just said, there's a new stadium, new manager, new this. As fans, do we have to be patient and just ride it out until actually we get to the finishing point? Because we look at, let's take the scum down the road for talking purposes, right? They have gone through what? Arteta finishing 8th twice. finishing, then bottling it behind us. But what's happened is that board went, no, we're going to back this manager, right? But now look at them. They go 1-0 down in a game. They're behind their team. That's where they had to get there. But a lot of their fans, right, and all of them, 90% of them, wanted this man gone. But that board,
and this is where it's a tough process, Marlon. And this for me is where it comes down. Because to be fair, you look at those fuckers down the road, right?
Yeah.
They went through such a huge period of success under Wenger. Took them a couple of managers. Then they got Arteta, right? And the board decided, no, we're not going to sack this one. We're going to stand by him. The fan base were just as toxic. You saw, how we used to take the piss. And it was even on Sky Sports, they're reporting a full stadium, but look, it's half empty, right? But they still stuck by Arteta. They've backed Arteta. Are we going through that same process now? Because we're spitting the same venom as they did with Arteta, and something changed. I think they realised they got to a point where they go, do you know what? We're in a position where actually we've got to back this bloke because I don't see him going, because for whatever reason this guy pisses champagne and shits gold bars. There's no reason that we can see the board getting rid of him. So the Arsenal fan base ended up coming to the conclusion we might as well start backing our team, which goes back to what I said earlier. We need to start doing something as a fan base. So maybe, and this is where we go back to, could Conte still be there next season then? As much as these reporters are saying what they are, or whoever else we bring in, is this going to be our Arteta, where we start having to deal with that painful rebuild? We still spit a bit of venom, but then realise actually that we can see signs of improvement. We can see that stuff's being brought in, and we just have to deal with this pain for a little bit longer.
They made a big mistake in sacking Pochettino, didn't they? Really, 3 years ago.
Well, and this is somewhere where I think this is something that doesn't help us, regardless of whether he's been sacked or not, regardless whether Pochettino was backed or not. We have enjoyed some of our most memorable times as a football club under that man, and because of the memorable times we shared, the Champions League final, the beautiful football, doing Arsenal in the Carabao Cup. 2-0 with Dele Alli and Son scoring, taking it away from them in the quarters. The goal that Son scored while we was at Wembley, dancing around down the right-hand side, putting, David Luiz on his arse and scoring that wonder goal. He's given us some amazing moments, all right? Absolutely amazing moments. And that is why he is so prominent in the mind of Spurs and the good times that Spurs have had. And I just think we were very spoiled with him, and we were very lucky, even though we didn't win anything, we were still very lucky to experience those emotions and to enjoy a Champions League final, whether we lost it or not, whether he should have played, Kane off the bench and started Mora. It's a conversation that will always go on. He still gave us that experience of a final, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's the right way to go.
I think the reason he's so linked is because fans have been so starved of attacking football for how many years, 3 years or whatever.
I don't think it's just attacking football, though.
No. But they know with Pochettino, with 100% certainty, if they get Pochettino in, the attacking football is back. I agree with you. I don't think it's
Chris, I think that's a very blasé statement because Conte will play attacking football. He did it at Chelsea because he had players he could trust. Right? We don't have a defence. If we don't sort out that defence, Pochettino is probably going to be a little bit more restricted in how he plays his football because he knows he hasn't got a defence he can trust.
But you look at how Pochettino ended at Spurs, right? That was last 18 months, or was it 12 months? I can't remember how long it was, right? Toby Alderweireld and Jan Vertonghen was starting to deteriorate, right? The football was awful, and everyone's forgot about that. They like to remember the bit in between, but let's go back to the beginning of his reign, right? Before Alderweireld came in, that first season, the football wasn't great either, but everyone has just forgotten, right? So he comes back. It's not guaranteed attacking football because if that defense is still going to be exactly the same, you're going to get exactly the same results.
Take off the rotating glasses.
If Toby Alderweireld and Jan Vertonghen made life so much easier for Poch in that middle part because they were both at the top of their game and we had two quality defenders. Now give Conte those two quality defenders, right? Because let's take Mourinho. Mourinho had, Toby and Jan just again when they were about to deteriorate. But when Jan got completely injured, what happened to Jose's football? We went crashing down because again he didn't have the defense and he wanted to sign Skriniar from Inter at the time, and he got rode on, right, because he knew Jan Vertonghen and Toby wouldn't be able to cope the season, right? And I think that's very key to everyone's forgetting. Get that defense sorted. You'll see a totally different brand of football with any manager.
I think that's the thing with Pochettino. They gave him that time, didn't they? That first season. Yeah. You're right. The first season was pretty dire.
Awful. I remember fans complaining. They gave him that time,
and he got that team together. He got rid of all the dross, the players that didn't want to play the way he wanted to play. Yeah. And the problem was they didn't give him that chance the second time, where he himself admitted that this team has got to as far as it can go, and he needs to rebuild, and they never did. So
how many Spurs fans wanted him out as well when it came to that second part?
Oh yeah, a lot of them did. But in the same way that they want Conte out now.
Yeah,
probably the same fans.
Yeah, and this is why I think Gareth was like really key. We need to be patient, and I think Conte was right last week. As fans now, we need to be patient and let's just get on board and just go through this shit show of what we're going through.
And I also think Conte understands why we're frustrated when he said the fans aren't patient. The fans have lost patience. I don't think that was him digging the fans out. I think that was him kind of trying to say, and you also combine the 20 years of the same fucking mentality. I think that's Conte's way of saying, fans, I get it. Just stick with me.
And let's put it like this, right? There's a lot of fans this season, especially Spurs fans, like we're seeing the football Arsenal play and we're creaming ourselves over it, going, "Oh, I wish we could play that football," and that don't help. But let's take the first 14 months of Arteta's reign. They were shit. They were playing exactly bad football, and we were taking the piss, right? So again, you have to look forward and look, and just we're gonna have to take this at the moment, and that's the way it is. And Man United are probably going through the same, Manchester City, right? Let's take them. First season under Pep. What was we all calling Pep? Fordiola. Went and got his defence. Look what happened.
Yeah.
That's a good point. One player that is probably the only bright spot that's come out of this weekend, Porro. He's looking quite good. Certainly, Brad, after his horrendous debut against Leicester, it wasn't just him. Everyone was horrendous, but he's looking pretty good after a bit of time on the training pitch. And he took his goal very well.
The first time I saw him live was when he came on against Milan. In those last sort of 10, 15, might have been 20, 25 minutes. But he showed then, he was one of the only players that's shown a little bit of spark in that game. And I'm liking the look of Porro. Now, if we go back to a back four, can he play right back? I don't know. I can't answer that question, but he's certainly looking very promising. And if you think if we did have get two defenders next season, and Conte's still here and trust Spence, you could have Spence and Porro as two very decent players for an attacking right wing back. So I think, and he took his goal really, really well. That was like that was well he did.
Well.
Yeah. So I do like the look of him.
Do you think, Ian, the fact that he came in, he had that shocker, Emerson started playing well, and now it's genuine competition between the two of them, that's caused both of them to play a lot better?
I think that's right. And of course, the problem is Spence apparently, I think you alluded to it earlier, Spence apparently had an absolutely wonderful game for Rennes against Paris Saint-Germain. So it's not as if he's playing against rubbish teams and rubbish players. If Conte's gone, whoever comes in might fancy Spence. We might end up with blooming three players for that position. And if the manager that comes in wants to play a back four and two of them are wing backs, and I think Destiny's a wing back rather than a full back as well. So I don't know, but Porro, I knew he couldn't be that bad because everybody was raving about him. I watched the Leicester game, and I'm just going to put it down to a little bit of youthful exuberance and trying too hard to impress because he was frankly awful. That game, absolutely, utterly awful. But he's been playing really well. He's been getting better with each game. Just I have been watching my phone. The latest tweets are that Conte is pretty well gone. That Mason, which would suggest that Pochettino is not coming back, because Ryan Mason again will be put in charge till the end of the season, until a new permanent manager can be found.
Now, do you know what? I've never heard she took it all over her face quite put that way, mate.
I missed that.
No, you didn't miss it. You didn't miss anything, Ian. Honestly.
No, as a penny, I missed that.
So I remember I made reference to what are you watching on your phone, and you're pretending it's Twitter. I said I've never heard her taking it all over her face quite well.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm embarrassed now. I'm trying to be absolutely cutting edge with all the latest news.
Reach for my phone now.
So
we believe you.
As long as we don't spend 2 months of the transfer window, or the what do you call it, the close season, trying to end up finding.
I've never seen a grown man blush so much. Oh, Ian, you do crack me up, mate. You're brilliant.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you crack me up, mate.
So that's where we're at. But that would suggest Pochettino is not coming back.
Yeah. Well, I was watching Sky Sports News before I came on here, and I know they talk absolute garbage most of the time anyway, but they were suggesting that Pochettino will assess his options in the summer, so that would suggest he wouldn't be there anyway. But if it is Mason Mack, who's going to be his spine? Like under Pochettino, we had a wonderful spine of the team, Loris, and then Vertonghen or Alderweireld, take your pick. Dembele, Eriksen, and Kane. We haven't really got a spine now, but
to be fair, mate,
it'll be that he trusts. Do you think? Do you think Alfie Devine might get a look in for the last 10?
I think off the bench, perhaps. I think you're probably going to be looking at Davies at left centre back. I think you're gonna be sat with Skip and Højbjerg in the middle. I think you're going to be Kulu, Kane, and Son up front.
Matt, can I ask you something? Would you play Davis left centre back alongside Romero at right centre back, and then 2 fullbacks and three or four in midfield, or the 4-2-3-1 or whatever?
The problem for me, it's the problem is he's got both elements to the game. It's for him, you saw when he charges forward, he does cause problems. He's got a shot on him. He set Royal up for his goal the other week. If it was to me thinking how would Ryan set up, would he go to a back four? I probably don't think he would. I think he would try and keep to what the team have been used to. The only way I'd probably look at going back to a back four is to give Dyer a bit more cover. I'd still give Romero a bit of free rein to trot forward a little bit, and that's where I'd bring Davies in at left back, because I know that he would tuck in. For me, he'd be reliable enough to tuck in and be alongside Dyer and hopefully anchor him a little bit.
I wouldn't be playing Dyer at all.
Do you know what, mate? To be fair, what's your options? I don't think good enough. I wouldn't play Perisic. All right, I wouldn't play Perisic. I don't think he's been good enough. So the only other option for me is, unless you're going to play Royal out on the left, you've got to play Davies for me. And that's why you'd end up sticking with Dyer, unless you want to throw a complete Hail Mary and bring Sanchez into the middle.
Well, so you played Sanchez right or centre, Romero right or centre, Davies left, then Porro, Perisic.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just think Dyer's form. I mean, at the end of last season, we put this run together. We won games. We didn't concede goals. Dyer was playing really well. I wouldn't, when there was a clamour for him coming back into the England side, I think that was well merited. But the fact is, this season he seems to have gone back to his old ways. People say he doesn't make tackles, he doesn't close players down, he doesn't win balls in the air. I mean, I would leave him out, and I'd leave him out for his own good as well as the team's.
But then you look at the options that we have. Don't get me wrong. I was asked a question on another show about, I think it was one of Tommy's shows about Longley. The possibility of signing him for £18 million, and everybody was like, no. My reaction was, to be fair, if I was going to have Longley or Dyer as a backup, I'd have Longley. So I'd pay the £18 million and get rid of Dyer. I'll be honest, if I was going to go to a flat back four, Davies on the left, Longley in the middle with Romero and Porro or Royal on the right. That's probably where I'd look at it, and I'd probably then look at maybe just for maybe a bit of creativity, because we know he's got it about him. He's a talented young lad. Have Skip, Højbjerg and Devine in the middle, and then play. One
point and one question. The point is that I'm not trying to compare Undogi and Porro with Walker and Rose at their pomp. But with that back four, but I'm going to, with that back four, Rose and Walker could play as fullbacks and as attacking fullbacks effectively, because what used to happen was one of the two defensive midfielders, Wanyama, used to drop back to make it a
absolutely.
Back. I was wondering whether that with Porro and Doggy, you could still do that. And the other thing is a question, and I don't know the answer. When Romero played for Atalanta and whoever the other club he played for, did he play in the back four then, or was it a back three?
I think Atalanta might have been a back three.
Because he won the Italian Defender of the Year, didn't he?
I think it was in the back three.
Yeah, I think from the Champions League games is where he came to prominence, wasn't it? I think it was a back three they were playing for.
But they did. I think was it De Zerbi? I can't remember who their manager was, but he did rotate them from a 4 to a 3 at the time. So he has played in the back four, but I think he came to prominence actually playing in the back three. And the same goes for Argentina. Yeah. He plays in the back three. Yeah. And we saw it when he played under Nuno. Yeah. He's too rash to play in the back four.
He's too rash in the back three as well sometimes. Yeah.
But at least he's got two to cover, where the two midfielders for us are not covering him when he does it. So you're right about the Wanyama situation. We haven't got that here at the moment.
Yeah. The Everton game, Marlon, if Mason is in charge, wholesale changes do you see, or the same kind of stuff and just a bit more attacking, or what do you see happening?
It'll be interesting to see, because obviously when Mourinho left, he was working on the Mourinho and he just stuck with that. So it'd be very interesting to see, now that he's worked under Conte and Mourinho, what formation he actually goes with.
Although he did play Bale a lot, didn't he, after the cup final in the league, and then allowed Bale to do what Bale does. Whereas Mourinho kind of held him back a little bit.
Yeah, but the point is, but then he played Bale, but it didn't make a difference, because we got battered at Leeds, if I remember. We got beat at home in against Aston Villa, so it didn't really matter. It comes down to the players, and it's the same players again doing the exact same thing. So
yeah, I mean, Brad, I've because of all this Conte stuff, I've forgotten that we did actually have a game, and VAR was as well. I mean, 3-1 up, 15 minutes left. You should never ever get to a penalty decision and VAR anyway. The worst you should get in that situation is a 3-1 win. But it was a ridiculous penalty.
What's the point? Make Dyer stand behind a nervous donkey for 30 minutes to improve his reflex.
I tell you now, what's the point? FC is such
just to let you know, by the way,
he's brilliant.
Marlon's been liking my tweets while we've been talking. Marlon's been there. No one accuses him of watching porn on his phone.
It's because he's not blatant, mate. Yeah. I'm going to start calling Marlon Cyclops, because he's obviously got one eye on the screen.
I'll freeze it while I'm looking.
I mean, I'm presuming Chris is going to ask me about VAR. Oh dear. Well, for a start, VAR, it's probably worse this season than it was last season. And Ian, we've had this conversation on Saturday. You've refed. I watched it today on Ref Watch. I watched it on Ref Watch. Yeah. Dermot Gallagher says, "Well, we've seen penalties given for more, but he said it was a penalty." And I think the other guy on the panel said he thought it was a penalty. I've watched it over and over again, and I can't see anywhere where it's a penalty. In fact, I think the other player throws himself at
he's a gooner. It was Maitland-Niles. Do you expect anything less of that? Dirty
and I know it doesn't. I know the law doesn't. Obviously, Papa Sarr didn't see the player. But I know that doesn't have any effect on the decision, or it shouldn't do, according to laws. But I've watched it again and again and again, and I can't for the life of me see why it was a penalty. I really can't. But, we shouldn't be in that situation anyway.
This is a bit, and tell me if I'm missing something or if I'm wrong, but when you looked at the VAR slow down replay, right? For me, if I was sat in that chair, I'd be looking for any change in movement in Maitland-Niles' leg, like a quick jolt, like to show there'd been contact. There was nothing.
No.
There was no. Don't get me wrong. It might have only been a Rizzler paper's worth of gap, but there was no movement in the leg. There was no obvious sort of bulge of where contact was made. And also as well, when you kick somebody, the foot itself will near enough stop because it's collided with something. There was none of this, so I don't understand.
Well, we actually had a penalty. Do you remember the penalty we got against Liverpool at Anfield? When Kane scored in the last minute, and that was against Lamela. Now, that was a similar thing with the kick hit him, but Lamela just got whacked. He clearly got whacked. Whether you thought that was a soft penalty or not, he actually did get whacked. Yeah, this guy on Saturday,
I should never have got to that stage, man. It's a ridiculous decision.
And the thing about it, and Ian, you could probably point in the right direction on this. As I understand it, the way VAR is set up is if the referee hadn't have given the penalty, VAR wouldn't have given the penalty because they have to find an obvious error.
The two decisions on Saturday, if the referee had given handball for us in the first half, I don't think VAR would have overturned it, and I don't think VAR would have overturned the one we got. I said I don't want to necessarily repeat everything I said on Saturday on the View from the South Stand, but I actually think they're starting to use VAR properly now in England. That only when there is a genuinely clear and obvious error, in other words, a decision that the referee's come to, where he has clearly failed to apply the laws of the game properly, that VAR should interfere in it.
So the VAR guy can't say, it can say, I think you were wrong, but it can't say, are you sure? That's how. There's been a difference. I said this. I'm going to end up repeating everything I said on Saturday with Haz. I don't know if Marlon, you were in the back room and you heard it, but Howard Webb took over from what's his name? Riley, wasn't it? Riley.
Mike Riley on as head of the professional match game officials. And there appears to have been, in my view, a quite discernible sea change in the kind of decisions that VAR is now getting involved with. So if you ask the wrong question, you'll get the wrong answer. So if the VAR is looking at thinking, well, I might have made a different decision, I'll call the referee over. You're getting a very different scenario to the one where I think the referees are now being instructed, unless it's a clear and obvious error, unless you can see something where the referee, had he applied the laws of the game properly, would not have come to that conclusion. An emphasis on the would not. You do not get involved in it. So we're getting much, much less involvement of VAR. Where there are subjective decisions. If you look at the laws of the game, there's so many places where it says, if in the opinion of the referee, if in the opinion of the referee. And I think that much as I think that penalty against us was harsh, there isn't enough evidence to suggest there clearly wasn't contact by Sarr on the Southampton play. Who was it? It was Maitland-Niles, wasn't it? That there is clear evidence of no contact, and therefore I should ask the referee to look at it, as opposed to Matt's point, where it just says, is there enough evidence that there was to overturn it? And that's where I think under Riley, VAR started to get itself into disrepute, where it was almost asking games to be re-refereed. And much as I thought we got probably those two decisions, they could both have gone a different direction, and we might have won 4 or 5-1 or something, and nobody would be having the conversations we were having tonight. But I don't have any problem with VAR not getting involved in either of those decisions, as long as
all down to the refs in that particular instance.
you leave the referee to the match referee unless he's made effectively a perverse decision. A decision that no referee properly applying the laws of the game could have come to. Otherwise, you just leave it with the on-field referee and we take it.
Because, if you look at that decision, I think if you ask majority of people, it'd be very split to say it was a penalty or not. I've seen penalties like that given against Harry Kane. I think I remember a game at home where he done exactly the same thing. So I completely agree that VAR shouldn't have got involved and it should have probably stayed where it is. And it's about time because a lot of people judge VAR. Look, there's frustration with referees at the moment, and I think Mitrovic kind of spilled over with the frustration what's going on right now with the players and refs. But at the same time, I think it's been so bad for so long. People can't judge VAR on 100% success rate because it's not going to be 100% success rate. It's going to be 90. I think they're at 97% of decisions are correct, right? But if you take that back 10 years ago when it was referees, it was 92%. So there's an increase already. The problem is, and I get with everybody, it takes too long. And I've always said, the clear and obvious is a time limit. If it's not clear and obvious within 30 seconds or a minute, you leave it to the ref. And I think a lot more people.
Offside.
Offside. So the only thing with offsides though is offside is concrete. It's not. There's no ifs or buts. It should be. There's your 2 lines thing against. I know the other week.
Depending on where the ball is when you stop the video,
I think.
But that's an error on their side, and offsides. I always say you can't get off. You should be getting. If you're getting offsides wrong, you shouldn't be a referee in the VAR room at all. And that Skip and Richarlison thing last week, that referee should have been expelled from the football and gone. What the hell are you doing? Because you can't do that. That's like you can't get offsides wrong. It is generally that's the rules, nothing to it. But when it comes to penalty decisions and things like that, that's where I think you have to.
It's open to interpretation, isn't it? Penalty. Offside is offside of it, isn't it?
Offside, they've completely taken out level with the last defender out of offside now.
Yeah.
So you're always going to give the advantage to the defending team, which it never used to be that way.
No.
So you're basically there's going to be less goals scored, and we want more goals scored. So
and Adrian Durham, I think Adrian Durham came out this a couple of years ago and said what VAR should be doing, it should be better for the attacking team, not the defensive team. But a lot of people, when it goes against you, you'll be going, oh well, no, that's not right, and this, that, and the other. So it swings and roundabouts, and that's why I always say offsides is offsides. You can't get that wrong.
And well, anyone that knows me knows that it's get rid of the lines is my sort of catchphrase, because I think those lines are just so misleading.
But the Champions League did well this year with it. I thought that the electronic thing that they had was done quite well. I don't know about everybody else, but I thought it was quicker.
They used in the World Cup.
In the World Cup, but that's the thing. You look at the World Cup in Russia, VAR was used better than when it came to England. It's always English refs that mess it up. And I think that's the biggest issue here, because even when you look to the Champions League games, when VAR was messed up, majority of the time it involved English refs. Sort out our system.
The way I'd like to see it used is you still use the picture, the frame, you take out the lines, and you look at it, and you have, as you say, 30 seconds. If I can't see that he is definitely offside, it's onside.
There were 2 decisions. Interesting. If any of you want to maybe look up after the show, there were two decisions in the Motherwell Rangers game that was on. I think it was on Sky on Saturday, and I don't know if they came up in Ref Watch.
They did, but I was so angry about the penalty.
I think you can get them on the Sky Sports app. Or on the Sky Sports, they both, to the naked eye, looked offside. Yet when they draw the lines and start putting the funny pictures down and from whether the arm is, they're both ruled onside. Now, I don't think the technology is working properly.
So in other words, you just freeze the frame. And maybe have a thicker line, and then you look at it and you say, actually, no, I can't see he's offside there. And it's the same when you're at a live game. When it goes, if it's going on for 4 minutes, then obviously there's a doubt. And if there's a doubt, he's onside. It's just like it's just so obvious. But yeah,
to be fair, on when they take that long with the offside rule, and when they take that long with the offside, they tend to get it spot on in the end. It usually is the right decision. It just takes too long. But it's the ones where it is the other ones where it's clear and obvious, and you just go.
Well,
on.
we
know the ones when the ones where they take 4 minutes to do it. That's like when you're trying to watch one of those TikTok videos where the girl's like, flashes into a dodgy like underwear picture, and it's like a split second. They're trying to press pause at the exact moment, and the ball's far enough away from his foot, but it's not obvious to the camera, so that they can call him off.
Me and Chris looked at this last week, didn't we, Chris? And if you look at his, going back to last week with Richarlison, and his legs, they're both like this. And his legs are clearly behind the other player, but just because this part of his arm, which we all know is all regularly used to score goals in football, is just slightly ahead of the other.
I don't know what part has to be offside now, because Patrick Bamford got offside for his hand being offside, which is ridiculous.
The head and up to a t-shirt sleeve. So if I hit it in from there, it's a goal.
Sorry, Ian.
Yeah,
have you got a red phone?
Do you know? I wondered if someone would comment. Yeah, because my partner's got a blue one. I know. Do you know? I did a show one Sunday afternoon. I'd been playing golf with a red shirt, and I know.
Sorry, I've just got to unfollow.
Yeah. We're gonna win the league. I'm sorry.
I did a show with Daigle years ago where I had a red shirt and I got panned for it. So
I remember that. I feel like I've been on that.
You know what? The only thing red in my house is my missus' hair. That's it. Nothing else. Yeah, my missus. What do you think of this?
I
like,
thought someone would pick that
what
up.
do you think?
It's actually, I do have a red phone, so sorry about that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, VAR shouldn't even be talking about VAR really, because it should never have ever got to that point.
So let's change the subject.
Yeah, I
mean, Forster, England number one.
Yeah, pretty much reached the end now. But kind of last question, I guess we kind of already answered based on we think by Mason. But where do we go from here? Probably. By Mason to the end of the season.
I'm going to go to bed and wake up hoping it was all a bad dream. The last 22 years have been a nightmare, and I wake up from a car crash coma.
Well, if you wake up and Pochettino's a new manager, it will be like it was a bad dream. It was all a dream. He never got sacked at all.
I just hope I get the youth back in the last 5-6 years as well.
But do we think it will be Mason to the end of the season, or do we think Conte will last to the end of the season, or do we think someone is going to be brought in before the end of the season?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, there's a picture of Dan Juma smiling.
Conte's gone back to Italy, but Stiolini hasn't. It'll be until the end of the season. He'll be like, Conte, fuck you, I've got a chance. I'm doing it, but I'm doing it on my own.
I mean, it's just a bit of a mess, but yeah, one capitulation on the pitch now, joined by a capitulation off it, and just.
If Conte goes down, I think we're fucked for top 4 as well.
We
will be. Yeah, we will be.
I've got a friend who's a United fan. I know that's a shock to people that I've got a friend.
You are lying. You started that sentence with "I've got a friend." Right? No.
But he was saying he likes what Conte did. So I said, well, of course you do, because your club isn't a laughing stock because of it. But it's just one thing after another.
I always want Tottenham to win every game, and I still will. But you know what? If we don't make Champions League this season, or all Europe for that matter, it's not. Or if we do, let's turn it round. If we make Champions League this season, it's going to be okay. Whereas last season it was, yes, we made Champions League, yes.
Yeah. Do you know what it'll be? If we make Champions League this season and we do it without Conte, we're all going to be sat there more concerned about who's going to be taking us into the Champions League. And to be fair, this is where you'll sit there and it'll be somebody like Enrique. It wouldn't surprise me because it's Champions League, and they'll look at a manager. Postecoglou, we said earlier, he's got Champions League experience. But out of the two, if you had the choice, who would you take, Enrique or Postecoglou? Most people would probably side with Enrique.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be very interesting to see what happens this week. Like you said, Ian, with all the Twitter stuff, reports, potentially Conte gone this week, so we've got about 3-4 days for that. But very
I would be staggered if Conte was still here on Friday. And I think Mason till the end of the season again.
It don't sound good, does it, with what you've said? With what you've been telling us. With the updates you've been telling us, it doesn't sound good.
Yeah. And people on Twitter are sort of saying, "Oh, thanks and no thanks," and and blah blah blah. It's.
I think it makes sense. Stellini maybe, but then you still got he's still got to be in contact with Conte. So
yeah. But when they sack someone, they tend to sack the whole lot of them.
Yeah. So I think it will probably be like Ian says, end of the week. He's gone. Mason in charge to the end of the season. With a view, they'll know who they want in charge, and it's probably signed, sealed, and done.
There is some hope here. There is some hope.
Brad, just a quick one. You said about normally when they sack them up, they sack the manager. They normally sack the backroom staff. But you look at the freedom Spurs play with under Stellini. Who knows? And I wouldn't put it past Levy to try and say to him, "We fancy the gig, mate." Till the end of the season.
Stellini's in the background going, "Daniel, did you see what you said about you on the way? He was having a go at you."
What's that trick? I'd do the same job for 2/3 of the money.
Maybe it was Stellini who was typing stuff to the teleprompter like Ron Burgundy in Anchorman, and Conte just said it because he can't say anything without the teleprompter.
There is a bit of hope. They're not the most reliable tweet, but remember when Tottenham fans said Antonio Conte was Daniel Levy's last throw of the dice, and the manager before that, and the manager might be, will he get to appoint his 16th manager? Interesting.
Maybe Stellini can play centre half.
Or Conte in midfield. He was a handy midfielder in his day.
To be fair, Pochettino, he's coming back, but he's coming back as our centre back.
It'd be very interesting to see what happens, but we pretty much reached the end. We can speculate as much as we want. We don't really know what will happen, but yeah, it's just very weird show talking for about 3/4 of it about the manager rather than the game that's just happened. But that's the way it's gone this week with massive news and just a massive blowout by Conte. But thanks to everybody for watching and everyone getting into the comments. Please, before you go, hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. But before you do that as well, or after you've done that, I should say, sorry, check out the other 2 channels that the guests have here. So Blue Sofa Songs. Brad, what can people expect on that, and when's the next?
An old balding person trying to write music, basically. So
like me without the music.
It's a channel of my own songs, effectively.
Well, Mac's not on here anymore. He's just signed that off.
A song out every 2 weeks, please. I need as much views, as much likes as possible. So help us out, and so subscribe to all these other guys and check them out. But also, if you're fed up with football, as I guess we all do at times, go and see me trying to make music.
Yeah, it's a very good channel, excellent channel, so make sure you check that out. And Marlon, view from the South Stand, what can people expect there? I know you do the show straight after the game, which the anger that must be displayed, it must take a hell of a lot of patience from you. But yeah, what can people expect from your channel?
We've got a monthly show that we now bring at the end of the month, and the March is this Friday at 9 p.m. It's definitely worth it. Last month's show was really good. We spoke about the whole month as a whole and actually had different opinions. We have Jacob from United Spurs of America. We've got Ashmatic, who's quite into tactics. And then we have 2 season ticket holders that don't usually do YouTube that will come on and actually speak about their experiences at the stadium and how they're feeling. And it's quite a contrast because obviously you've got us we don't go every week, to the ones that are there home and away. So it's a really good dynamics, and actually seeing their opinion and see how split we are is quite good. So yeah, this Friday 9 p.m. definitely worth the watch if you get a chance. Yeah,
make sure you check them out as well. Ian, I know you don't have a channel, but you can usually be found.
Well, I've got my porn channel that Matt obviously watches.
And check out Netflix. There's a very good documentary on Netflix, actually.
And Mac as well, same raw emotion.
Yeah, to be fair, mate, I'm just slutting it. I mean, slumming it from place to place with whoever wants me and whoever's going to take me on. Yeah. I think I might have to give Ian a shout off the side, and we can just do our own little review show of whatever we find on our phone.
On that note, what a lovely place to end. So yeah, please hit the like.
To be fair, mate, in your bedroom, it's always a lovely place to end. At least you got a towel there to wipe it up after.
Yeah. Oh dear God.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks so much for watching and the comments coming in as well. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for the comments and
That's
everything like that.
very good,
everybody.
Yeah. Please hit the subscribe and the notification bell. We'll be back on Friday, 12:30 p.m. I'm not sure what we'll talk about. Presumably about Conte being fired. I would have thought about that. But,
And if you don't want reference to your bedroom, do the stream from somewhere else.
It's only you who mention it. You've got porn on the mind and
It's
everything.
where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Ian's innocently going and looking on.
When I make it disappear.
Ian's innocently looking on Twitter, and your mind only goes to one place.
He's looking on porn.
I'm the son of a journalist. I'm trying to bring you breaking news as it happens, and I get accused of being a bloody perv.
Breaking news or breaking hymen, either one. It's not much different. Either way, it might make you cry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. Jump over to Chris's Magic as well. Have a look at that. 7:30 p.m. UK time on Wednesdays. Mac doesn't watch it, but everyone else can. Blue Sofa Songs. Jump over there on Fridays and View from the South Stand as well. Be back on Friday, 12:30 p.m. UK time. Talk about Conte, I'm assuming, and the international break. So in the meantime, as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Go on, you Spurs.
Come on, you.
Thanks so much for watching. For everybody who joined in the live chat and added comments, before you go, please leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, please hit that notification bell. That'll give you a notification every time we're about to go live, and it's all completely free. For those who missed the live show, you can catch this whenever you want on Let's Talk Tottenham's YouTube channel. Please also hit the like, subscribe and notification bell, and everybody please leave feedback, comments, suggestions in the comments section on the YouTube videos. For those of you who listen to the audio podcast, thank you so much for listening. Anyone who wants that audio podcast, you can pick that up wherever you get your podcast from. We're back Mondays 7:30 p.m. UK time and Fridays 12:30 p.m. UK time. Alternatively, if you go to Twitter at @LTalkTottenham, Instagram Let's Talk Tottenham Podcast, you'll find all the information there. Anyone who wants something a little bit different, also do a magic show. So I do one trick a week, which drops Wednesday 7:30 p.m. UK time. Chris's Magic on YouTube is where you'll find that. But in the meantime,